This is Hannibal here from the HannibalTV.com and World Class Pro Wrestling. I'm about to be joined by the owner of World Class Pro Wrestling, Jerry the Boss Bostic, who is going to kind of run down what's been going on with World Class and what lies ahead as we approach the big Christmas Star Wars event, December the 11th in Irving, Texas. Some of the stars that are going to appear on this event are Mankind, who there is a new interview with on the Hannibal TV. For anyone that wants to check it out, it was done yesterday. Eric Embry, one of the world-class pro wrestling matchmakers, is going to be returning to Southern Junction in Irving, in the Dallas area. Fuego del Sol, Carlito, Kevin Sullivan, Ross and Marshall Von Erich, Andrew Anderson, many more that I'm sure Jerry is going to tell us all about when he gets on here, and he's going to answer fan questions and all sorts of stuff. And of course, there is some matches posted from the event that just happened in Wichita, Kansas. Back on October 3rd. There's already, both on the World Class Pro Wrestling channel and the Hannibal TV, there is the Ryan Moonshine Mantell versus Jacob Fatu match, which Ryan won, which was a surprise to a lot of people, and a female match, which was a really good match. Marty Bell, I believe, and Queen Erica were in that match. Then, of course, there was the Fuego del Sol versus Matt Hardy match, which was quite a battle, and it turned into a tag team match after the first match went to a no contest due to interference. And the fourth match that was posted was, of course, my personal favorite wrestler, the Blood Hunter, who was managed by Blaze, defeated ECW original, former WWE and WCW legend, the Sandman. So there's a lot going on. Of course, the Blood Hunter is the Texas champion, and he will be defending that Texas heavyweight title in December, and Jerry against Carlito himself. And there is Jerry the Boss Bostic right here with a Rig Rats shirt. He's known for his shirts. I think last time it was the girl from 90210 and Saved by the Bell, who I'm forgetting her name now.
Kelly Kapowski.
Kelly
we
Kapowski
talked about this other day.
Yeah, and I did watch your little video that you sent about Lisa Turtle, and
it was sad.
She's doing better.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was so sad that they are letting her on the second season.
And for those that don't know, Screech actually appeared in World Class Pro Wrestling, and he unfortunately passed away this year after many years of mental health issues. But that was pretty cool to see that he once appeared for World Class.
You know, what's wild to me was, I think out of everybody that's appeared in World Class, I think maybe you were most impressed with Screech.
That is true, actually. I always wanted to use Screech, but I could never get in contact with him.
You know, like we talked about the other day, we both loved Saved by the Bell, and so it was a natural fit that he would be the one to do it because he loved wrestling. I've actually been close to using a couple of the other ones too in conventions, so who knows what the future holds.
And not only that, you had Johnny Fairplay, who I interviewed this week too, part of World Class once, another celebrity.
Absolutely. You know, Johnny's a great guy. You know, I think it's always cool to involve celebrities that actually like wrestling. You know, I've never been a big fan of, I think WWE is the serial offender of, and I'm not knocking WWE, but they're always the serial offender of people coming on to promote their products that don't really know anything about wrestling. But I think whenever people in other worlds, whether it be sports or celebrities or whatever, Whenever they love wrestling, I think it's very cool to do things with them.
And speaking of wrestling, you were victorious in Wichita, and Bill says it was a very competitive match, and I heard it from the back, and the crowd was going nuts.
I think they were for all 3 minutes of it. Thank you very much for the compliment, Bill. It was nice to return to the ring after that. I mean, that's my first full match in a couple of years, and it was nice to be back in there. I don't think that we've seen the last of me.
No, and of course you're coming back to Wichita already at the end of February because that event was a big success. All the major news sites reported on it. And I guess it was successful enough that you have another date.
Yeah, we'll be back in Wichita at the legendary Cotillion February the 27th, and which might be our biggest show of all time in Wichita if we pull off what we're working on. I try my best when it's reasonable to listen to people. And I think that, the people have spoken of one person in particular they've always wanted to see in Wichita. And, we're working hard on our end to make that happen.
Now, the big event coming up December 11th at Southern Junction in the Dallas area, Irving, Texas, is going to be your return to Texas since pre-COVID. How long has it been, and how special is it for you to come back with the whole Christmas Star Wars theme that the original World Class made famous?
I think it's been. I think we quit running the second week that COVID really became prominent in the area. At that time, we were running weekly shows in Carrollton. It will be nice to come back to the DFW area and to settle in, at Southern Junction, which is going to be our home venue going forward, that and the NITEC Center in North Richland Hills. And I'm very excited about it. It's always cool to give people a little piece of their history, of the history of wrestling in our own way. And that's kind of what the return of the Christmas Star Wars show, which will be an annual thing for us, is going to be. Kind of a throwback to something that people have fond memories of, and we hope to give them many more memories on that show. The card is loaded with fantastic talent. I think it's going to be an amazing event. If you guys haven't got your tickets already, they're at worldclassprowrestling.com, or you can find them on Eventbrite. It's definitely going to be the show that lays the groundwork for where we're at, where we're going. It's something that you won't want to miss.
And it will be Ross and Marshall Von Erich's first appearance in Texas, I think, since pre-COVID, because the MLW event that was scheduled for September, I believe, has been postponed. So that's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, they moved it back to, I think they moved their show back to WrestleMania weekend, MLW did. And, starting in December, as long as there's no conflicts in schedule, hopefully we have Marshall and Ross on a month-to-month basis. We're also excited to announce the same thing with Jacob Fatu. As long as it's not a conflict in their schedule, we will be having him on a more permanent basis as well, which we locked down this week. And I think that's a huge win for us as we move towards kind of an old World Class style, more or less, in a lot of ways. It's important to have people like Jacob on the roster, so I think, as long as MLW plays nice, it'll be a fruitful relationship, hopefully, for everybody.
I was just talking about Jacob before you came on the air, that Ryan Mantell, Moonshine Mantell, had a big upset win over him in Wichita, and that match is on the World Class Pro Wrestling YouTube channel for anyone that wants to check it out. Could you see a rematch in the future between those two?
Well, Hannibal, it's funny you bring that up. That is the plan as of now for December 11th, is we will see the rematch in Irving. Jacob Fatu versus Moonshine Mantell Part 2. The first one was so good, we're going to revisit it. I couldn't be more excited to see it. I think it's great for us. It's great for the fans. And like I said, I think that sets the stage for where we're going.
And I also noticed that there's some new women that are going to be involved. with this world class pro wrestling event at Southern Junction, December 11th. Of course, all the hype for Jenny Santana's first match, but not only that, there's some more seasoned female athletes that are going to be debuting on that event.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we've covered Jenny's career a lot. You've had her on a couple of times. She's big in the Brazilian jiu-jitsu world, and I think it's a natural transition into pro wrestling. Can't wait to see her work her debut match. We have her on the card. We have Danny B, who, after the announcement of being on the show, she signed with Wow, I think it's Women of Wrestling. I think that's what it's called. So that's a great opportunity for her there too. She'll be on the card. Erica Torres will be returning. She was on the show in Wichita. Erica Torres will actually be working Jenny Santana. Both of them, you know, Jenny has the BJJ background and Erica has the MMA background. So I think it's going to be a very interesting match between the two of them. And we also have Kelsey Reagan debuting, who is out of the Devon Dudley School, who's been wrestling for a couple of years. Great talent there as well. So we're very excited about the female portion of the card.
And of course, Kevin Sullivan is going to be there along with Eric Embry, who are the matchmakers, I guess, for World Class Pro Wrestling. Eric Embry hasn't appeared in Texas for a very long time. This is going to be a big deal for the fans there because I understand he's going to be part of the meet and greet as well.
Yes. You know, Eric and Kevin are handling the booking for the organization going forward. You know, I mean, we have a conference call once a week to go over everything. And I think we're all excited about what we have coming. You know, this will be the most prominent return Eric's had since his departure, 30 years ago. Excited to have Eric back in the fold. Excited to have him back doing what he loves doing. And him and Kevin work so good together. You know, if you miss this show, you're really going to be missing out to see what they've put together and to see what direction they have the company going forward in. And, you know, I can't wait to watch it myself.
Any idea who Fuego del Sol is going to be wrestling? I saw that he's also on the card, as well as another AEW current star, QT Marshall.
Well, we actually had to withdraw QT Marshall from the card. Actually, he had to withdraw. We found out last week. We've been working to fix that. That he's not able to compete against Fuego due to some contractual obligation with AEW. And that's understandable. You have to do what's right by every company, and AEW does a solid by letting their talent work for other companies. So if we have to abide by those rules, it's completely understandable. As of now, we're going to be moving towards Fuego del Sol versus MLW star Gino Medina, which should be an excellent match.
Yeah, Fuego's really taken off in AEW lately, and now he's partners with another world-class pro wrestling former wrestler, Sammy Guevara.
Yeah, like we've talked about before, Sammy and Fuego had their first match for world-class back when we were IWR, and they've come such a long way. It's great seeing them do their thing. And, I heard about it. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I guess on Sammy's vlog, I guess last week before last, Fuego found himself a new tag team partner. He looks strikingly similar to Cody Rhodes with a mask on, but I heard that's not him. And I think they had their first match this week on Dark. I've been meaning to check it out, but I've been super busy this week, so I haven't had the chance. But if you guys haven't seen it, I bet it's rather entertaining to watch. So you should definitely check it out on AEW Dark.
Where can fans get tickets for the Southern Junction event if they want to go be there in person for that special night?
You guys can get tickets at worldclasswrestling.com, worldclassprowrestling.com for any of our upcoming events. You can also find the links on our Facebook events. You can also visit Eventbrite for any upcoming events as well. So and they'll also be available at the door as long as it doesn't sell out beforehand. And the tickets are moving pretty well right now. So we're very happy with it. Like I said, I think with us moving into our homes there starting in January, we're going to establish a great product in that area, great presence in that area. We couldn't be more excited. It's January and February are big months for us. We have the show in December, and then we have January 22nd at Southern Junction, January 23rd at the NYTEX Center in North Richland Hills. February, we'll come back with, I have to check the dates. We have a show at Southern Junction for sure. I think I'm going to have to move the NYTEX date around a little bit because they had something else penciled in. And then we have Wichita, February the 27th. We might also have Broken Bow, Oklahoma, February the 12th, kind of think of it, and maybe Colgate, Oklahoma, February 11th. So February could be a really busy month.
Yeah, you're taking a lot on your plate. You're going to be a busy man starting in the new year. Not that you're already busy enough.
I think 2018 we ran 40 live events, and I think it's very possible that we crack that record this year and move past it. So we're looking forward to both events, or multiple events, I guess you should say.
Al would like to know if Ring of Honor releasing everyone will affect World Class. I know some of those contracts were restrictive, such as PCOs.
I don't know how true it is. I saw AEW already signed a plethora of that talent. I don't know if that's true or not. Somebody had sent that to me today, and I didn't have time to fact check any of it. It's very sad what happened with the Ring of Honor. I think it's a harsh reminder that, in order for a lot of companies, even like ours, to stay afloat, we need your support. It's nice to support us online, but actually go to the events, order the events, watch the streaming services that they're offered on. Like Ring of Honor has the Honor Club. I think that's what it's called. I think, like things like that. The way that you keep your favorite promotions around us, supporting them. Not everybody has WWE and AEW money back home. So it's very sad what happened. Even more sad for the talent because there was a lot of people that were under contract with Ring of Honor that that money was used to support them and their families. Now that's gone. Thank God the indie scene is thriving, and there is AEW and WWE. I'm sure a lot of those people are going to be picked up. And I'm not against. I've worked with some of the Ring of Honor talent. I've always wanted to get my hands on the Briscoes. I would love to see the Briscoes and the Von Erichs. I would love to see it.
Yeah, that might actually be a money feud for World Class Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways those styles are similar. They're both brawlers. I think it could be very, very good.
Someone wants to know if Billy Jack Haynes will ever be in World Class. I don't know if anyone's heard from him in over a year now. He kind of disappeared.
Did you have him on here? I see one of the comments is, when will he be back on? Did you have him on?
I've had him for a few interviews, but he like disappeared off the radar. I haven't heard from him in over a year now, and nobody's heard from him. So I hope he's okay.
Yeah,
but of course, he was a big star in Texas.
For those of you that don't know, if you haven't, you should subscribe to Hannibal's channel. He has a lot of real hidden gems on there, people that you haven't heard from in a while, and people that you may be wondering what they're up to these days. And it never ceases to amaze me, some of the people you have on there. I'm like, oh, what? Like I end up watching a lot of those clips. And, I know Eric has told you himself, you're his favorite YouTuber. And he told me one day he just went down a rabbit hole watching all the stuff you've done. So, congrats on all the amazing work.
Well, I'm glad that you helped me finally get Eric on for a couple appearances. So that was great. And I think his World Class podcast episode is still the most viewed episode on this channel. So, by the way, if you're not subscribed to the World Class channel, they're like 20 people away from 8,000 subscribers. So
go subscribe.
Let's get them to 10,000 before the end of the year, which I think is possible.
I think one of the issues is the content. Obviously, with us being on hiatus for a while, we've done the most we could without the content we had, or with the content we've had. One of the things we're working towards doing in the next year is, we're going to have content specific things for each one of the places we're featured. Our main show will be featured in a certain spot. We will have YouTube exclusive content, Sigi TV exclusive content. If you guys haven't downloaded the Sigi TV app, please do so. It's free. It's a great way for you to go back and watch a lot of our old our old tape library, with whether it be World Class or IWR. So please take the time to do those. And, that's one reason why we're taking on a lot more shows, and starting 2022 is we're going to produce a lot more content. Squared Circle TV said, are you going to be wearing the new red and yellow tights at Christmas Star Wars? Honestly, I'm not sure if I'm going to be working that show or not. That was the plan initially. I'm not sure if I will be working it at this point. But when I do get my hands on them, I will be breaking both pairs of them out. I'm feeling better physically every day. I'm probably in the best shape I've been in a few years. So that's great. I see Brent says, pray for Hacksaw Jim Duggan surgery. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, please pray over Jim Duggan tonight. He has prostate cancer surgery tomorrow. Jim has been with us, man, for 5 years, and has shared a lot of special moments with me, whether it be numerous wrestling shows. We've done conventions together. I hosted a comedy show for him. He's a top-notch individual, and anybody that's met him or spent time with him knows that. He has a deep love and appreciation for all of his fans. He was with me whenever we did something really magical at the University of North Texas, being the first company ever to blend college football and pro wrestling in that setting. He was with me when we did the same thing with Oklahoma City Thunder in the NBA. So many really special moments with Jim, and I really hate to hear that he's going through the problems that he's going through. So everybody, please say a prayer for Jim.
Yeah, and as a promoter, I used him a lot myself up here in Canada, and also introduced him on comedy shows and did a shoot interview with him. And he's one of the easiest wrestlers to deal with.
Oh, yeah.
We all know, like, some of them won't do publicity before the shows, and he was always open to it, and he was always a pleasure to be around. But do you have any stories about him that the fans might want to hear? Personal interactions that won't get him in trouble?
I will just say Jim is a very good guy, and if you've ever paid $1 to meet him or spend time with him, that it genuinely meant something to him, and he genuinely cared about that interaction. And one funny story about him, my son, who's 15 now, when I first started using Jim, he was 10 years old, and he thought it was the coolest thing ever. He really believed Hacksaw was his friend. And, so he would go around telling people, like, Hacksaw, Jim Duggan, that's my friend. And he even had like a little signed board by him and stuff. And so, it's amazing to see the impact that Jim's had on just people through over like 4 decades now, so hopefully the surgery goes well tomorrow, and that's no longer an issue for him. Him and Deborah both just first-class people. I can't say enough nice things about Jim.
And he did defeat kidney cancer when he was back in WCW, so he's already defeated one form of it. He is a tough guy. Let's pray for him for the other. And definitely I'll be thinking about him tomorrow. Great guy. You mentioned that Oklahoma football stadium show, or maybe it was in Texas, but that was the most enjoyable one for me to watch. And there is clips of it on this channel too, World Class Pro Wrestling, if you want to go into matches and search it up. But I thought it was a cool atmosphere, and you had a great crowd on hand. How did that whole event come about?
Actually, Jim Ross was nice enough to refer me to the University of North Texas. They wanted to do a wrestling show, and they wanted to do something special to Von Erichs. And at that, as far as I know, wrestling and college football have never been together in that kind of working relationship prior. So, it was a little challenging seeing how it had never been done. They wanted to do a wrestling show after their football game, meet and greet before, then the football game, then the show afterwards. And so it was the first time, I believe, that Kevin, Marshall, Ross, and Lacey Von Erich were all featured on the same show together. And so everybody came in, and I asked them beforehand. I'm like, hey, is how are we gonna get the ring out there? Y'all gonna like put it on something and like drive it out there, and then bam. They're like, no, we can't do that. Look at this turf. And I'm like, like, what are we gonna do? They're like, well, we were just thinking you put it together after the game. And I was like, of course you were. And so we had two different rings. Thank you, Knight Davis, for helping me last minute on the second ring. I don't want to get his promotion wrong. I think it was XCW. It was a promotion out at Denton, Texas. Oddly enough, the first time I ever saw indie wrestling, it was his promotion. It was a great time. He used to run shows, and they were adult-oriented shows, kind of like hardcore shows, but they were great entertainment. And so I really appreciated him for helping me out on that, because what we came up with was we put one ring up on the concourse of the stadium to where people walked in, they would be able to like do the meet and greet right when they walked into the stadium, but we were going to leave that ring up. And we had my main ring against the 50-yard line on the field. And the second that the game was over, we started running matches up on the ring on the concourse and displaying them on their video screen while we built the ring on the field. And, the crazy thing, I think we had that ring up in like 25 minutes, which was a record, which goes to show if you really want to get it done, you're going to get it done. And, that, as far as I know, that event, I know it broke their attendance record, but I believe that still stands today. And that's a very special thing that we did there with them, and something I'll always look back fondly on. And, it was funny because at one point, I can't remember why, like they didn't feed us on time. Well, we're all hungry. We're trying to eat before this show, yada, yada, yada. And somehow somebody gets the idea that they have like a little, or they did, I don't know if they still do. They had like a little tent area down on the field for the donors to eat and hang out. Well, somehow somebody figured out how we can get in there. And so we just bust up in their donor meal and just start eating their food. And so, I mean, it was funny thinking back on it now. And, it's like any show. There's so many stories you could tell about it, but it was a truly special thing. So was the NBA. Never in my wildest dreams did I think, that I would be doing wrestling on the level where you'd be like, oh yeah, I worked with college football. And really cool stuff to think about.
Now, I don't know if there's footage of the NBA event that you mentioned as well, but what happened with that? Was that a wrestling show before or after the NBA game?
Well, they had reached out to me and wanted to do like a game in conjunction with their G League team, which for those of you who don't know, G League is like the developmental. And, it was a real task. We had a show the night before, and I can't ever remember this town's name. It was a small town in Oklahoma. And, like a lot of wrestlers, we stayed up way too late. And I remember the next day, a lot of us rolling in late, getting ready. We got it done. One of the stars on the show was supposed to be at this meet and greet beforehand, like this dinner we had planned. And he was only like 4 or 5 hours late because we had to get him up. And so it was typical wrestling stuff. The show was good and it went off without a hitch. But there was a lot of stuff surrounding it that probably could have been done better. But, you live and you learn. And like I said, whenever you're dealing in these things, that is the first time that you've been a part of it. It is what it is. And that's how it goes. So.
Now, one of the big stars, or the biggest star, I guess, for the Irving event is going to be Mankind, Mick Foley. How did you pull off getting him to appear on this one?
Actually, Mick and Eric Embry go back, well into early in Mick's career. Eric was very instrumental in Mick's start. And so that's, their friendship really helped play a part in getting Mick to be a part of this event. And, we're really looking forward to having Mick. I've never worked with Mick, oddly enough. And so, it's just another person taken off that bucket list. There's the bucket list is small, but Mick is on that list, so that will be very cool having him. It'll be the first time he's been back in a world-class, associated product in decades. So very, very cool having Mick, and who knows what he might get into while he's here. I think initially we were At that time, we were worried about COVID, so we did not know about the meet and greet aspect of it. But as of now, he is doing the meet and greet, and who knows what else he might get into.
Ric Flair was back doing appearances last weekend. I saw some pictures from Albany, New York, of him with other wrestlers. Any chance of seeing him in world class in the future? He has such a big legacy in Texas. That big Cotton Bowl show, of course, where Kerry won the title from him.
We've never had Rick. We've been close a couple of times. We've just never, sometimes, I mean, schedules just don't work out. And never say never. In fact, I'll just leave it at that. Never say never. He caught a lot of backlash over the dark side of the ring thing. And, I think that's kind of subsided. I don't know how fair that backlash was. I don't know how true the stories that were told on there were. And, so I think, in my own opinion, I'm not a believer in the cancel culture. I think at some point they need to be canceled. I think it's pretty simple, man. If you don't like something, don't watch it, don't listen to it, just move on, But, I think Aaron Rodgers said it best about the cancel culture. If you get a thrill over holding your thumb on people and ruining their careers and ruining their lives, the more power to you. But I don't play a part in that. I just don't. My opinion is we shouldn't be passing judgment on people. One day God will do that. And it's that simple. So we would love to have Ric Flair. And, I think maybe 2022 would be the perfect year to do so. And, if the stars align, maybe around April, who knows?
Yeah, of course. Somebody brought up earlier, I think it was Brent here, that WrestleMania is going to be in Arlington, a stadium where I was at earlier this year to watch Texas defeat Toronto. Is there any
baseball? Is that you went to the baseball stadium?
Yeah.
How was that? I mean, I actually got a tour of that. They gave me a tour of that stadium earlier in the year, but I haven't been there while the event was on. Was it pretty cool?
It was, yeah. I enjoyed it.
I'm a lover of all sports, so yeah. But I haven't been to their new stadium. They I had designed a convention for the Texas Rangers a few years ago, and they passed on it for Billy Joel and Paul McCartney, which, I mean, you can't really be upset about that. That's, pretty good company. And it's amazing that my concept had made it that far. And they actually called me back earlier this year and wanted to discuss that event again. And I went down and saw the new stadium and got the tour of it and sat down and talked about some things with them. And so who knows what the future holds on that too. But very cool stadium. And, I think we're definitely going to have a WrestleMania presence this year. It just depends on what route we go, where it will be. And I think it's very cool WWE is doing back-to-back days. I think that's way more feasible than doing one day of like 8 hours or whatever it ended up being the last time.
Yeah, that's too long. That's too long.
Man, I know. It's like I'm 40, man. I'm trying to go to bed.
Yeah. Well, worst case, you have Southern Junction, which is one of the best venues in Texas for professional wrestling. It's a great atmosphere in there. So I'm really happy that that's going to be the new Irving, Texas home of world-class pro wrestling.
I think really WrestleMania weekend, just depending on who is on the card, it will either be Southern Junction or the NYTEX Center. We're really, if we get the match that we're looking to get, it'll probably have to be the NYTEX Center, and that's just because it's 2.5 times bigger. And honestly, it might possibly be Will Rogers too.
Well, you got a lot to keep busy with as we head into 2022. There was also an announcement made that there's going to be a welterweight title created, and I'm not sure when it's going to be introduced. Maybe you could fill us in a bit on that.
We're looking at probably January, February. We're still working out the details on how we're going to present it. The welterweight title will be for people 175 pounds or less. That's legit. If you're not 175 pounds or less, you will not be wrestling for it, and that's how that's going to go. It's going to be a cool spot to showcase, that weight division on the card. Outside the welterweight division, we have the Blood Hunter as the Texas heavyweight champion. We have Stephan Bonnar as the world class heavyweight champion, and there's a lot of things that are going to, we're heading in a pretty wild direction, I think. But it's going to be, I think the fans are going to love it. Marty Bell is the Diamond Division champion at the moment. We're going to be crowning new tag team champions at Southern Junction in December. It will either be the Von Erichs or Devastation Reborn, Al and Akbar Farhat. Looking forward to that match. They wrestled, I want to say 5 years ago in Galveston. So that was a pretty big deal there too. Actually, they might have wrestled in Mesquite too. I cannot remember. No, they didn't wrestle in Mesquite. It was Galveston. And so, looking forward to having that. There'll be brand new tag team titles as well. The great Dave Milliken with the original blueprints from Reggie Parks. Rest in peace, Reggie Parks. I heard he was a fantastic guy. Dave is constructing a new welterweight championship based off the light heavyweight championship that Eric Embry held, and also constructing new tag team championships based off the old world-class tag team championship designs. I'm a history buff, so I love this stuff. I love that part of it.
There you go. It's nice that you're thinking of history when you're putting together these titles, because the fans appreciate that.
No, I mean, you have to when you take the world-class name. It was a big, it's something big to take on whenever we decided to go that route. It was originally Marshall Von Erich's idea. I was like, well, we better ask your dad, man. And Kevin was very supportive of it. And, it's been a real blessing. But I think whenever you do something like that, you have to take these things all along the way, and you have to think about all the moves that you're making, and they have to be as respectful as possible to what's already been done.
Now, there's also recently been some other companies in Texas that have closed, and I see some of those talents have come over both behind the microphone and in the ring. Brittany is one of them.
Yes.
How has your recruiting been going overall for World Class? I know you're attracting talent from all over the world.
Yeah, we're excited to have Brittany come aboard. Her resume speaks for itself. She's a great promoter, commentator, announcer. She's done a lot of things, wears a lot of hats in wrestling. And I think anytime that you can bring on fellow promoters, I think it's usually a good thing, because, they understand. I mean, you know how it is, Hannibal. You promote too. They understand what you're going through. They understand what needs to be done, how to get there. Brittany is a very successful businesswoman. She did a lot of great things in Louisiana, even sat on the Chamber of Commerce there, runs social media. She just does a lot of great things. So having her was a big pickup. Putting her with the legendary Mark Lawrence, I think it's going to be fantastic. Having Mark come back after all these years, and them two doing commentary, I think it's going to be amazing, just amazing. And I think it's only going to get better the more their chemistry comes together and the more they work together.
Now, you made an announcement last week that there might even be some boxing and MMA under the World Class banner in the future that you may have some sponsors for through your streaming service. You want to fill people in on that?
Yeah, I took a position last week as the president of the sports division of StreamNet TV, which is another streaming service that's looking to get off the ground. And, they came to me with the idea of producing boxing and MMA. And, I've been a fan of boxing for years. MMA, I mean, I enjoy watching it on occasion, but I think there's a lot of room there to do something special and to do something different. I think, immediately, I think it's a great crossover between the three, once a year to do a super card that features all three products. I'm always intrigued by things that haven't been done or they haven't been done in my knowledge anyways. So that intrigues me when it comes to those things. And, I can sit down and learn things just, by taking it in, reading, watching stuff. And, I remember the first time we got television, this guy called me from Missouri from NBC, and he's like, hey, yeah, we had this wrestling company and they went out of business and we want to replace them with your show. And I was like, oh, that's really nice, man, but I don't have a TV show. And he was like, well, I saw your stuff on the internet. And I was like, man, that's just a YouTube show. It's not a TV show. And he goes, well, it's every Saturday following Saturday Night Live. And I was like, I'll take it. And he's like, well, when can you get me a show? I was like, well, now we're back to the problem that I don't have a TV show. So I was like, give me a month. Let me figure it out. And I will have you a show. And so, I remember getting off the phone and looking up as many things as I could. And, just watching so many things, making notes. And then I went up to Norman, Oklahoma, and sat with Jim Ross 2 or 3 times in that month and just took my little notepad, just like I have now. I always have my notepads. I'm very, very old school. And I remember just sitting there and listening to Jim Ross tell me how to write TV and show me. I actually still have those notes somewhere. And it's not every day you get taught by one of the greatest of all time like that. Jim took me under his wing for a couple of years and opened so many doors for me, did so many favors for me. Him and Mean Gene, rest in peace, Gene. They did more for me than a lot of people. It was very amazing to work under both of them like I did.
Somebody on here is questioning whether Stephan Bonnar is a UFC legend. He's actually in the UFC Hall of Fame.
He is, yeah, and it is that Stephan Bonnar. He recently broke his vertebrae, and he'll be out for the foreseeable future. But Stephan is a big part of world class, stand-up dude. Funny story about him. So I don't even remember how we came up with this idea. We were in San Antonio for a show. We were in this restaurant. We should have probably tipped people off, but we didn't because that wouldn't be any fun. And so we're sitting there, and we had this idea that he was going to punk me out in front of everybody and steal my money. And so I can't remember what I said. I said something, and so he started yelling at me, and all these people were sitting there looking like, what's going on? And he was like, he took my wallet. He told me to get out of here. I was like, but Mr. Bonnar, you have my money. And he's like, scram. And I was like, but that's my mom's money. He's like, get out of here. And like chased me out. And these people were looking crazy. Like, what's going on? And then we had to come back in and laugh and tell him we were just messing with him. But, I love Stephan. I wish him nothing but a speedy recovery.
Yeah, he's also a comedian. So that story doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it was great. It was fantastic.
My dog wants to appear on the podcast.
Yes.
I don't think she's appeared on the World Class Pro Wrestling podcast before.
That's great. If my 20-pound cat was laying around here, she could join us too.
20 pounds. What do you feed that thing?
Way too much. Way too much. We're trying to cut her back on her food, but she has a tough life, so we just let her eat.
Now I see some posters for some pretty big past events on your wall, and we've been talking about some of your other events. Do you have a favorite event you ever put on?
Oh man. Man, I don't know. So many special ones. The one right here, When Worlds Collide, that was the first show that Jim Ross helped me put together. So that was always a special show to me. I remember at that show we were selling DVDs of our prior show that we did at that venue, and it was called Rise of the Revolution. And so we're sitting there doing our thing, and JR notices these DVDs, and he's like, well, aren't you going to give me one of those? And I was like, I guess, sir. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh no. Because that show was really good. Rise of Revolution was great, but at the time, I'm notoriously cheap on certain things, and I didn't want to pay somebody to do the commentary because I thought anybody could do that job. And so I take that, and I didn't want to pay anybody. So me and one of the wrestlers did the commentary on it, and it was horrible. For those of you that think that's an easy job, it is not. It is not easy at all. It's so I give him this DVD and he goes home. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh man, I hope he doesn't watch it, or if he does, I hope he watches it with mute on. So the next time we get together, whatever, he's like, yeah, man, yeah, I watched that DVD. It was pretty good. I was like, oh, thank you, sir. Sitting there thinking he didn't listen to it. He goes, who did the commentary? And I was like, well, sir, that was me and this other wrestler. And he was like, it was effing awful. I was like, I know, sir. I promise I won't do that again. But, I always thought that was funny. And, then, wrong hand, Oklahomania. That was our signature event in Oklahoma. And that will probably be coming back either 2022 or 2023, just pending our schedule. And, I still remember the day that we were planning that. We were sitting there going over some stuff. We were trying to think of what we were going to call it. And JR was like, how about Oklahomania? And I started laughing because I thought it was a joke. And it's like, you think it's funny? And I was like, oh. I was like, no, sir, I don't think it's funny. And he's like, well, there's not one. I was like, there is now. And so that's kind of how that came about. And, Oklahomania has been a very special event. I remember the one behind me, it was crazy. That's right whenever Matt Hardy started doing the broken gimmick. And so, we had him and Jeff initially teaming together. But, at that time, the storylines they were working in Impact didn't really go with that. So they came up with a way to make it work. And they were wrestling War Machine, who is known as the Vikings something or other in WWE now. And we had Jim Cornette with them. And seeing Jim Cornette and Matt Hardy going one-on-one against each other verbally was just amazing. And then, on that show, too, we had Jerry Lawler versus Jeff Jarrett, which was a huge throwback to old school wrestling. We had monitors in the back, and I remember everybody watching that match. And it was just amazing storytelling. It's, I think oftentimes in newer wrestling, the storytelling aspect of it, the psychology are lost. And it was on full display during that match. I've even tried to put that match together again since, and we just haven't been able to for, scheduling reasons, whatever the reason may be. And, I would love to put that match on in Dallas at some point. I think that match was so amazing. So, I loved those shows. Somebody brought up our NWO show in Weatherford. That was a great show, too. Not a very good turnout. The people I had marking that show really didn't do a good job. But, it created to me one of the most special moments that we presented. At one point in the ring at the end of the show stood Kevin Von Erich, Marshall Von Erich, Ross Von Erich, X-Pac, and Kevin Nash. So it was like the NWO meets the Von Erichs for the first time. And that was right after Kevin got done slapping the Iron Claw on Eric Bischoff. And so that was a very cool moment. I remember I was standing in gorilla position, and Kevin Nash walks by, and he's like, I was in the ring with the Von Erichs, and just walked off. And, so it's stuff like that, man, that's always been really cool. Really cool when you can have those special moments like that.
Yeah, big shows for sure. And that was pretty cool that you were working with Jim Ross at one point. How is he to deal with all the knowledge he has from all of his years working in all aspects of wrestling?
He's one of the most brilliant people in wrestling. We talked about fundraising from back in the UWF days all the way to his WWF days, WWE, whatever. I would literally just sit there and listen. And he told me, he goes, if you will listen to me, I will teach you everything I know. And, to me, it was an honor. It wasn't, and it still is. I love seeing Jim happy in AEW. I saw something earlier today, somebody criticizing his commentary, and I think in a sense he has gotten a step slower, but a lot of people you know, whether it be athletes, whatever they're doing. You know, the older you get, you do get a step slower, but in the same sense, you get a lot wiser. And so I love what Jim brings to the show. You know, I love Jim and Tony Schiavone both being together on the show. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, and he is making the most money he ever made in his career, he said too. So he
Oh wow, I
probably
did not see
doesn't
that.
care anymore if people
Wow.
like his commentary.
Hey, good for him. Good for him. You know, he deserves it. So, I mean, you know, when it comes to commentary, Jim is the greatest of all time. You know, and Tony Schiavone's great too. You know, I love seeing Justin Roberts with him too. Justin's one of my friends I've made in wrestling. We've shared a lot of cool moments together. He loves Saved by the Bell just like us. You know, we went to go see Vanilla Ice together. Something else me and him both love, and we got to meet Vanilla Ice actually. You know, Justin's a great dude, and Justin loves wrestling. You know, announcing is another thing that I thought was easy. And one of the shows we did in Arkansas, I can't remember why he couldn't come. I ended up doing it, and but I didn't tell him. But somebody told him, and so afterwards he was like, "It's like, yeah." So he's like, "So are you going to send me the video of the show?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "You know, the Arkansas show." And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Why?" And I was like, "I'm just not." And he's like, "It's because you were the announcer." And I was like, "How do you know?" And it was funny because he ended up getting his hands on it. And he's like, "You know, it wasn't as bad as I thought. You need to quit yelling." But it wasn't bad. And, you know, I got a lot of respect for Justin. I think outside of it may be up there with Howard Finkel. I think Justin is the greatest ring announcer of all time.
And he can do one hell of an alien voice.
You talking about the Wichita show?
Yeah.
Oh my God! I forgot about those shows. I think some of those shows are probably up there as my some of my favorite shows we've done. I've loved the movie crossovers, and you know, whatever the Dallas one was the first one we did, and I wanted to call it "Who Shot Jr." the wrestling version, and Jr. is like, "I'm not doing that hokey stuff." He's like, "I didn't like doing it when I worked for Vince, and he paid me a lot more than you do." And I was like, fair enough, fair enough. And you know, so from there we did Wizard of World Class, our version of Wizard of the Boz. We did Smallville, Smokey and the Bandit. We did Footloose at a Footloose festival. Just crazy things, man. Crazy things that, you know, to me, wrestling should be fun. And, you know, it can be serious sometimes, but then you can take breaks and do things like that too. And I think most of the people that worked at those shows really enjoyed them because we were just all out there being as creative as possible and having as much fun as possible.
Yeah, I could tell that by the videos. There's not too many independent companies putting out vignettes that are that detailed.
Yeah, you know, it was wild. You know, I remember Wizard of World Class. You know, Matt Stryker rewrote "If I Only Had a Brain" from The Wizard of Oz, and it was about if only he could count a three. You know, and he actually in his match later on that night, he had a referee spot where he was trying to count a three. So it all linked in together, and I think in a sense it can really push the storytelling envelope too, because you know most things in wrestling have been done to some extent. But then you have wild, crazy ideas like that, where it's like the wild, wild west, and you just bring out, you know, if you let people be this natural extension of themselves and place them in this crazy world, you don't know what you're going to get out of them. You know, Flex Zerba, one of my favorite people to work with, one of the most creative people I've worked with. I mean, you know, him and John Morrison. John Morrison is so creative, and you know, he did like our Pee Wee Herman episodes. He was Boone the Bounty Hunter on the Dallas episodes. You know, whenever you get in there with these crazy creative people and you give them a platform like that, like sometimes it's just mind blowing the stuff they come up with. And sometimes, you know, I would just sit there and watch them go to work and just be mind blown over how good they were.
Yeah, I remember the episode where he was the rental cop chasing Chavo Guerrero.
Yeah, that was Smokey and the Bandit. You know, to me, the cool thing about those two is whenever we did them, they were always placed in places that were factual to those movies. You know, like Dallas was in South Fork, Wizard of World Class was in Wichita. Some of that was filmed on the real Yellow Brick Road. The one you're talking about, Smokey and the Bandit, was actually filmed in Texarkana, and the show was right up the street from Texarkana. And so, to me, that really fueled a lot of it too. Was just the areas we were in. Sid was a part of both of those shows too. I love Sid, and it was funny. Jake the Snake was the wizard. And, and they were all for it. They thought it was hilarious. They even got into it. So you can't beat that.
I think there should be a world-class charity softball game with Sid on the team.
Oh man, Sid's first round draft pick, man.
Yeah, that would get views.
That's actually a fun idea. I think AEW did something like that recently. We should definitely look into that. I think that would be great. And plus, it's something you can play with the people too. What's funny is I actually pitched. I can't even remember how I got a hold of these people. Really, it was whatever year the baseball All-Star game was at Cleveland. Somehow I got a hold of some people there, and we actually had talks about doing one of those shows there, and we were going to do the major league version of wrestling. And, that would involve like Charlie Sheen, who I've talked to his people before about being Wild Thing and stuff like that. So, it's not far-fetched to believe that one day maybe that could happen. I would still be all for doing these types of shows. I think they're a nice break. And, I think they were an effective little mini-series to kind of put in between things.
Yeah, I think they should have given Sid a baseball gimmick or a softball gimmick.
Hey, you know what they say? The best gimmicks are natural extensions of yourself.
Yeah.
And he could have been a hell of a softball gimmick.
You might want to look into giving Sid a world-class retirement match. That would probably draw, because his Canadian retirement match that we did for him here, which was his last match in Canada, had over 1,000 fans.
No, I believe it. I mean, to me, Sid, outside of just liking Sid a lot as a person and thinking Sid's a great person, I always loved watching Sid. I think Sid is highly underrated in a lot of people's minds. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves sometimes. And so I would be all for that. Originally, whenever Sid was working some of these shows, we actually had that idea. So who knows? Who knows what the future holds? I'm not against it. Not against it at all.
Yeah, he donates to underprivileged children in third world countries and works closely with his church. So a lot of people that don't know that side to him, he does have another side, and he's a very down-to-earth person. So.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, it's easy to pass judgment on people that you don't know. You know what I mean? And I think that's it.
Well, we're back, fans, and it's been a few months, but we are going to keep doing this world-class pro wrestling podcast and have guests.
Yeah, starting next week, we will have some guests.
Yeah, there was so much to catch up on this week. Hopefully, people are filled in now on all the places that world-class pro wrestling is coming in the coming months.
Yeah, we will also in March, we will be presenting Kansas Mania, our first Kansas version of our Oklahoma type events. It will be a convention and a wrestling show featuring not just world class, but the 3 top companies in Kansas as well. So looking forward to that as well. Remember, December 11th in Irving, Southern Junction, Christmas Star Wars, Mick Foley, the Von Erichs, so many more. Blood Hunter and Carlito, I think we touched on that. Blood Hunter and Sandman in Wichita was amazing. There we go, right there. Yeah, so definitely looking forward to that in Southern Junction. I loved having Sandman. He was great. But I think the Carlito Blood Hunter match is going to be really great too. Get your tickets at worldclassprowrestling.com or on Eventbrite. Yeah, look at that. So many amazing talents on that poster. And like I said, presented by us at World Class, Kevin Sullivan, Eric Embry. Download the CG TV app to watch our old content. And you'll also be getting new content on YouTube as well. And we'll also be letting you know around January where you can watch our main show. So, I mean, we have so many things going on. And we're so blessed. We have an amazing roster. And, you know, whenever before COVID, I thought maybe, you know, my best shows were behind me, but now I don't even think that's the case. You know, we did a great comeback job in Wichita. It was fantastic. I think December is going to be right along the lines of that. And then from there, we're just off and running.
Very exciting stuff. And remember, subscribe to the World Class Pro Wrestling YouTube channel. Help it reach 8,000 and 10,000 by the end of the year. That would be a great goal. And it's World Class Rev on Twitter. There's also a Facebook page. And
there's an Instagram. I'm going to do better about Instagram and Twitter. But yeah, we need to get to 10,000 by the end of the year. And if we do, we'll do something really special for people. So, you know, if you have to create, you know, around like 2,000 new YouTube accounts and click subscribe, nobody's going to hate you for it. Just do it. Do what needs to be done to get us to that goal. And if you can prove that you created 2,000 accounts, I'll do something really special for you.
But as you know, Jerry, I did check it out through my analytics program the other week, and World Class Pro Wrestling's YouTube channel is very popular. Its growth is doing well, and it's getting great monthly views, despite only being back since this month after being off 2 years.
25 days.
So that's great. I'll let you close this off with whatever you want to tell the fans. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. And next Thursday, we'll be back.
All right. Yeah. Thank you guys, everybody, for tuning in, and for everybody that's going to watch this later that didn't tune into the live broadcast. Prayers to Hacksaw Jim Duggan as he battles prostate cancer and has surgery tomorrow. Make sure to lift him up. Once again, my condolences go out to everybody at Ring of Honor. I'm sure you guys will all land in great places and hopefully just resume business as usual. Don't forget to check us out as we return to Irving at Christmas Star Wars, December the 11th at Southern Junction. Your tickets, worldclassprowrestling.com. Starting in January, we'll be at Southern Junction in the NITEC Center every month. You can see us WrestleMania weekend. You can see us return to Wichita February 27th. You can see us debut Kansas Mania in March. So many great things going on. That's not possible without all of you guys' support. So thank you very much. God bless every one of you. Have a good night.